Check it out, we rapping for the Texans. Little bit in Crenshaw Bridge, we flexing. Houston rap style, we bringing the heat. Talking Texas football, nugget compete. Got the best podcast, the loudest in the game. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Remember the name. We talking draft picks, we talking defense. We break it all down, no nonsense. H-Town with the Run Showdown on the mic, talking Texas football every Wednesday night with special guests dropping knowledge, taking the stage. Oh, digging in Crenshaw Briggs, be holding it down in the H-Town, wiping it down, talking touchdowns in H-Town. Houston culture, we holding it down, talking news and rumors, keeping it real. No filter, we got the Texans appeal. In the Lone Star City, we're living it up. Talking all things Texas, we can't get enough. From the football field to the concrete jungle, we're repping H-Town. Ain't nothing mama, bitch.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matthew Briggs. My other two esteemed co-hosts will not be here today. They are sick, but I got a special guest to help keep me company. I got Mr. John Granato. Did I kill that? Did I murder it?
No, Granato. That's it.
Okay. You never know these days. You know, it could be Sutton. So I just want to make sure I didn't kill it. Guys, you would know him from the bench on ESPN 975. John, how is your night?
It's wonderful. How are you guys? How well? Your other boys, your buddies are sick. So sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and I just got over myself too. So hopefully they get feeling better.
Well, what y'all giving each other?
I don't know, man. I guess it's contagious through the computer screen. So hopefully you don't get ill after this.
No, I hope not.
Yeah. Well, John, before we get into why we're here, we just started season 4 today, so we took a little break. So we didn't get to talk to NFL honors. So let me ask you about: did you see it go as planned? Did you see everybody winning what they did? Did you see Andre Johnson go to Hall of Fame?
No, I didn't. No, I thought Andre would have to wait. I thought Torrey Holt would get in. I didn't think Andre would get in. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. It wasn't a surprise to see that Kevin Stefanski won because it was a regular season honor. If it was if it was after the postseason, obviously D'Amico would have won it because he crushed Stefanski in the postseason. But it was a regular season honor, so I predicted that one. I didn't predict Andre, and of course, Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud both getting Rookies of the Year. That wasn't a lock for Will. It was a lock for C.J. But yeah, not surprising at all with that, and all of those deservedly so. It's a shame that it's a regular season honor and it didn't come into play for D'Amico because he certainly did the best job this year.
Yeah, and I like how you said, you thought Torrey Holt. I mean, there's several receivers that could have made it before him, right? Even running backs. Like, I'm still surprised. Like Fred Taylor hasn't made it yet.
Yeah. Reggie Wayne.
Right, Reggie Wayne. Like, the list goes on and goes on. Do you see in the future the guys like that making it? Or
yeah. I think it's a matter of time for Torrey Holt. He'll get there. And the NFL is a little bit easier, is a lot easier than baseball. The basketball is really easy. If you're a Russian woman, you're going to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So, but the NFL is a little bit easier, and Torrey Holt will get, and deservedly so. And I think Reggie Wayne will get there too at some point. But Andre getting there with the limited number of touchdowns that he had, he obviously was. We know how great he was and the limited quarterback play that he had throughout his career. But they look at numbers, and it's nice. I think John McClain probably played a really big role in pushing for Andre Johnson and what he has done here. And it's great to see. Andre is. I was in that locker room for those teams every day for the first 5 years of the organization, and Andre, it was like pulling teeth to get him to say anything. He never stepped out of line. He obviously had some little contract problems, but some of that was caused by his uncle. And the Texans did right by him throughout the years and changed it. after his uncle made him sign a bad contract, Andre was a little bit unhappy, and the organization came through and changed the contract, which they should have done. So it's a marriage. I hated to see him leave and wear other uniforms. That was terrible. But he's a Texan through and through. There's no question.
Now that he is cemented in the NFL, forever, you can't get rid of him. Do you think we should put a concrete statue of Andre Johnson beating down Cortland Finnegan?
Oh, that would be awesome. I was on the field.
I was actually there for that game. I was on the game. Like we were about to leave because it was a blowout. The Texans were walking away with it, and then all of a sudden my buddy's like, "Oh look!" And then
I couldn't believe it was on our sideline too. Mm-hmm. I was the sideline reporter for the radio broadcast, and it was just awesome to see Andre just beating the snot out of him. It was that iconic, him standing over him like this. You're right. That should be a statue. That would be so sweet. Cortland Finnegan was such a punk. He was such a punk. Hated that guy.
Like you said, like it's not Andre, right? Like he's such a calm, reserved guy. Like you have to push the right buttons for him to go.
Yeah. Only one other time when he walked off the field when he was so pissed off. You remember he was pissed off at I think it was Matt Schaub. He was pissed off at, and he walked off the field. And so, but we very rarely saw any emotion out of Andre. He just was at his job, just doing his job. I remember one catch in the end zone going up. So against I think it was the Redskins at the time. They were the Redskins, and going up and getting that ball and falling. It was just a fantastic. I think that was a game winner, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. I think overtime. You're right.
Yeah. So that's Dre, and for him to get in, that's just fantastic.
The most memorable play I have to recall is when it was the Cardinals, and it was like I want to say 10 yards short of the end zone, and he just he took two guys on top of his back, just pushed them into the end zone, like right then and there. I was like, this guy's something. And the bad thing is it got overshown by the Sagecopter. That's the same game where Sage Rosenfeld, it got put in the air, and I'm glad to see him make it. And like you said, CJ Stroud, he definitely deserved it. Speaking of CJ Stroud, man, he had a busy weekend, did he? Well, Hall of Fame, or not Hall of Fame, but All-Star games and the Cactus
softball games and basketball games and I don't think there was two. I'm surprised he wasn't on this one. There weren't two podcasts he wasn't on. We
tried.
We saw. I bet you did. We saw so much CJ over the last 3 weeks. I'm really, and the worst of it was him leaving with Amber Rose. We don't need to see that anymore. But that's his personal life. He can do whatever he wants. But I was surprised at how much. Well, he is going to be a face of the. He was the face of the NFL, I think, this season. I mean, such a surprise for this organization, for everybody involved. Very few people saw him play because they played at noon every single game this year. They're going to get a lot more national attention next year. But even with all of that, the limited number of people that saw him, he was still, the guy that everybody wanted. And he's been on all of these podcasts and he's been saying so many things. I hope he goes and takes some time now and relax and get your mind right. And let's go and let's do it again next season. I think that's going to be one of the things to look for. We've seen a lot of players play really, really well. You can name a bunch here in Houston, their rookie seasons, or one day just have a breakout year. And here's the thing is you got to verify it. You got to validate that great season. And he's got to do that this upcoming season. He's got to be that same guy and even take another step. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be harder with a first place schedule. I mean, he played a lot of teams that weren't very good this year. And he came through, no question about it, but it's going to get a lot tougher. There's going to be more Ravens games. There's going to be more Chiefs games. And this is not the same road when you're a first place team and you're playing a first place schedule. It's different.
And like you said, he kind of put the face of him in national media. Right? Like if they don't know, now they know. They know
Yeah.
who CJ is. They're okay.
Oh yeah.
We're circling this guy on Sunday. This is the guy we have to stop. So yeah, I think you're right. And kind of speaking back on Dre, is this his demeanor, his attitude. That goes the same for CJ. Like he has that dog mentality. Like that it reminds me a lot of Kobe Bryant, but without the ego. Like it's kill him now. Like was it the Pat McAfee show? One of those guys
Yeah.
were saying, "Hey, Stephen A. Smith said you had no chance
Yeah.
against the
Right.
Browns," and he was like, "Bet," that,
Yeah.
and So I think I think he is probably the best thing to happen to Texans since Texans coming to Houston. It's so refreshing to
Yeah.
have a face like him.
Let's not forget we felt a lot like this with Deshaun too.
Yes.
So yeah. So and that turned out, and hopefully it's nothing like that. Same agent. I know CJ is going to get paid. I hope that that's not going to ever be an issue. Although Deshaun signed a huge contract with a $25 million
I never played it
signing
down.
bonus and never played another down.
Yeah.
So that was crap. So hopefully, nothing like that happens with CJ. I certainly don't want to put that on. CJ's a different guy, though. I mean, yeah, everything he says, his post game start with Jesus.
It's very genuine, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem pushed. It doesn't seem fake. Like it's
Yeah.
very genuine. Like this guy means business.
Yep. And he's just. I mean, you want your kids to turn out like him.
Oh,
So yeah. So that's a lot different than Deshaun. I hate to put Deshaun and CJ in the same sentence, but CJ's got, it's going to be a lot more pressure on him this year. A lot more pressure on him. I can't believe what he did as a rookie, though. I mean, he had numbers and he led the team like a seasoned veteran. So he's gonna have a tough act to follow in himself. If you want to know the truth, it'll be fun to watch next year.
And like you said, it's a rookie year. I'm waiting for him when he's in the league for 4 to 5 years, when he's a seasoned vet. Like
Yeah.
it looks like he's going to be Pat Mahomes style. Like he's that's how great he's going to be, and if that's
Hopefully.
what we got. I mean, sign me up.
Yep.
I'm ready for it. So
Yep.
yeah, and like you said, I am so tired of the Amber Rose narrative. The dude just was a gentleman, took her home, that's it, and everybody is blowing out proportion. Like it's
Yeah.
getting national media. Like, hey, welcome to the spotlight, kid. Like is this
Any move now, and you know what? Some of it, it's going to be that's how it's going to be. It comes with the territory. It comes with being an NFL quarterback. It comes with the money. It comes with the fame. He's going to have to watch all his P's and Q's. He wouldn't be the first guy to fall in, with, less than desirable. I mean, do you remember Mia Khalifa shooting baskets with Deshaun, and Gronk was, and he had some porn star wearing his jersey, and it's just like, I just don't need Amber Rose. So hopefully she said, he just gave me a ride, so that's all. And let's not blow out of proportion. So let's not.
And his mom, I don't know if you've seen, but his mom also speaked out on social media and said, "Nah, that's not happening. I raised my kid right, so
Yeah,
hopefully, Mama knows best."
Right.
Shout out to Miss Stroud. She's raising a hell of a son.
Yep.
All right. Well, John, let's jump in here while we're here. The game plan for this offseason, like you said, if me and you were talking before the season this year, and you're telling me that the Texans were going to go 10-7. They're going to win the AFC South division. They're going to go to the wild card and just cream the Browns and make it one more step closer to the AFC conference. I would say put down the drugs.
Yeah.
You're high. There's no way you're telling me the truth. Are you in the same boat? Or
No. I don't know anybody that saw this coming. Although I think Paul Gallant on our air, he was on the show after us. He predicted 10-7. I don't know why or how he did that, but he predicted 10-7.
Magic ball going on, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought 6 wins would be a great season.
Yeah.
Listen. Nick Caserio is gets as much credit for the moves that he made. There's so many of the guys that he brought in, the Sheldon Rankins, the Cashmans, the Devin Singletaries, the Robert Woods. I mean, guy after guy after guy, Shaq Mason, all these guys that he played a huge role in it. He's going to have another big offseason. D'Amico, I think, gave us the game plan for this offseason. It's going to start with defensive line. So, and I really think that if it's not going to be I'm probably going to be a defensive lineman with the first pick, the 23rd pick. Okay. And it's probably going to be a big free agent as well. You don't win in this league without that kind of manpower up front. They've got to stop the run. They got to get to the quarterback to make it easier on Stingley and whoever else is on the other side, and the safeties as well. So I could see a big free agent signing, maybe an Uche, which would be, I don't know, 8.5, 9 million. I don't think Chris Jones. Can't see that happening. But I certainly think it all starts with that defensive line this year.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The free agents wise, like you have to go after a guy like the Baltimore defensive tackle. Get you a good defensive tackle, and all it depends on the guys you bring back too. Like if you get Jonathan Gennard, if you bring him back, then you don't go after somebody. But if you don't bring him back,
right?
Say Josh Allen's out there. I mean, that'd be a nice pairing next to Will Anderson.
What we're hearing is that Josh Allen's probably going to stay. They're going to franchise him.
Okay.
But Uche from New England is out there. Danielle Hunter is out there. That's a possibility. I don't know. Uche is a little bit smaller, stockier, while Danielle Hunter is a little bit longer and thinner but strong. It'll be interesting to see which way they go, which way D'Amico wants to go. Which kind of guys are D'Amico guys. Mm-hmm. We saw Will Anderson. We saw that kind of guy. You get another Will Anderson I think Danielle Hunter would be a really nice fit. Maybe Uche too, because he won't, break the bank. I don't know what Jonathan Granato is going to ask for. It's the talk is he's everything I've seen. He's a top 11, top 12 free agent. So he's probably going to get a bunch of money. I don't know. You got a guy who's basically proven it for 1 year in his contract year. I don't know that you're going to put out that kind of money. You might be able to get a better bargain in free agency.
Or even a draft, right? Like we talk D'Amico guy, like Chop Robinson would be a great replacement. I mean, that's a D'Amico guy, right? He's a leader, easy teachable. So why not go that way? I tend to agree with you. I think Grenard's going to be he's going to want a lot of money. But like you said, the best ability is availability. You only 1 year is and you were even fully healthy this year. You missed, I think, was it 2 games? So,
but a lot in previous seasons.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. So if you bring him back, I think you bring him back with incentives, right? A low base, and if you hit, a certain amount of games, certain amount of accolades, then all right, here you go. And it's kind of like a Chris Jones deal, correct? I mean, you know what happened with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
He came back on a pretty high base, but more incentives. I think that's kind of the route you have to go with.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what the market draws for him, though. He might not have to play for incentives, depending on what people think of him and what they're going to. The defensive end is a valuable commodity, so he's probably going to be a guy who's going to get a lot more guaranteed money than playing for whatever he can make on stats.
Yeah, and then you got guys like they're saying I'm gonna murder his first name, Lavarius Sneed from Kansas City. They're talking about him.
Legarius.
Yeah, Legarius. He's not going to come back to Kansas City. I mean, that'd be if you let Steve Nelson walk, put him on the other side of Stingley. I mean, that's the time to get some good free agents is now, right? Like you got your franchise quarterback, you got the money. You can probably get some reconstruct your contracts in those big guys he got in Tunzel and Mason. Do you see any of that happening, or do you think it's going to be the same 1 year,
No,
2 year deals?
no, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go longer. He's got CJ, locked up for 4 more years,
Right.
which is nice. I don't think that they're going to do anything early for him. You never know. Maybe they will, so that they don't let him get, to the franchise tag and do all that stuff. Especially if he plays really well these next couple of years, they might do something early with him and reward him. And so your Stingley is going to come up, as well the year before he does. And you're going to. Now you're right. Now's the time to sign some guys. Plus, the cap just went up to $250 million. You've got plenty of space. Now is the time to grab somebody. And these years that CJ's playing on this rookie deal, that Will Anderson's playing on this rookie deal, this is when you can sign some guys to 3 and 4 year deals, as opposed to what Cesario's been doing with 1 and 2 year deals.
And the window to win now is right now, right? Like, if there's ever a big possibility, like you said, CJ, Will, Derek, they're all in their rookie contracts. Like, if this is the time to strike and surprise people, make kind of a Bengals run, this is the time before we have to break the banks with CJ Stroud, with Will Anderson, because it's going to happen, right? If you want to keep those guys in a Texan jersey, you're probably going to have to reset the market, probably with all 3 of those guys.
Right. Who knows what a quarterback is going to be making in 4 years? Goodness gracious. Plus the salary cap, what is that going to be? CJ is going to break the bank as long as he continues to play at this level or anywhere close to it. So, yeah, this is the time. This is the time to strike. You might be able to bring in. I would like to see him do it smarter, though. I don't want to pay 20-some million for Chris Jones or Mike Evans. That's because that's what those guys are going to get per year, maybe go close to 30. There are plenty of guys that you can go out and get. Amadabuike, you mentioned him from Baltimore. He's going to make some money, but not Chris Jones money. As I mentioned before, Uche, I think Uche would be a real bargain in a D'Amico defense. He had 11 sacks, not this season, but 2 seasons ago for New England. And so he's going to be on the cheap this year because he only had 3 this season. So you might be able to get a guy that D'Amico can unleash and get the most out of for a better bargain than spending 15, 16 million on Grenard.
Right. Well, so on social media, I've made a post, and it's got some love and a lot of hate. A lot of people want Saquon Barkley. I think we need more needs than running back. I say re-sign Singletary to a 2-year, even a 1-year deal, and then draft a free agent, or not draft, but draft a rookie in the 3rd, 4th, maybe in the 5th round. Are you a Barkley fan? Do you want him here, or do you think it's going to be too much?
I think Barkley makes you better. My radio partner doesn't feel like he's good for this scheme, an outside zone scheme, but they'll do a lot of one-cut stuff as well inside. I'm neither here nor there. Everybody's put now. All of a sudden, Barkley is following Nick Caserio and he's following C.J. Stroud. All these guys on Instagram or Twitter or wherever he's following them. And now all of a sudden, the rumor mill is Saquon Barkley to the Texans. Saquon Barkley to the Texans. I don't want to. Is he a 10? Look what you got out of Motor for $2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the production. Although they're still not a good running team, I think Barkley does make you better. 2 things though: he's starting to get a little bit older. He misses a lot of games, and is he a fit for this scheme? Now, I've always said, you got good football players, you adapt to them. The coaching staff, they don't have to adapt to the coaching staff. Coaching staff has to adapt to them. If your system doesn't work when you got good football players, that's on you as a coach. So they got to make the most of. But this system is perfect for CJ, and we've seen it. We've seen that the play action on the outside zone scheme and the guys open, everything is perfect. You don't want to change it. And if you have to change it for Saquon Barkley, then I say no. But he's a good football player. He is a good football player, and he's going to be a good football player. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they're going to spend that money and bring in that name.
That's the only thing that scares me, right? Like, I don't want it to be another Amon Green. A lot of these Texans fans don't remember those days.
Yeah, he was at the end of his career, though.
Right. Yeah, I mean, not nowhere near Barkley, but still paid a lot of high money for him,
Yeah.
and you know the story. I just don't want to pay a high money and him being like he did in the past, miss a lot of games.
Yeah.
So that window just gets a little bit, close to being shut. So that's the only thing I'm scared of. I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Josh Jacobs or Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler probably fits the scheme the most out of those three guys. And Barkley is very underrated in the passing game, but I think Eckler is just elite. I think he is close to CMC. I don't think anybody's on CMC's level when it comes to catching the ball, but Eckler's pretty close to it.
Yeah, so, I like Eckler too. He was used a lot less. They were running Kelly a lot this year. I think they might have been fed up with his contract. All his issues with the contract and everything else. I don't know. They were not a very good football team. I don't think they used him nearly as well as they could have, like they did in years past. For whatever reason, they didn't. Maybe they didn't want to showcase him. Maybe they didn't want him to make. Maybe they wanted to bring him back for less money. Whatever the case may be, you're going to get him at a better price certainly than either Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh Jacobs might be the best. The question is why are you going to allocate $10, $12 million to the running back position? Right. I mean, you have to run the ball better, but I think a lot of that is on the offensive line as much as anything. You didn't have Kenyon Green. You didn't have Titus Howard for a lot of the season. You didn't have Patterson. It was Questenberry. It was guy after guy after guy. I don't know how much you can blame the running back or the running game when you have such a patchwork offensive line all the time. Maybe that I'm hoping Kenyon Green is going to be better than he was his rookie year. I don't know that he is. He was bad in pass protection. He was bad. So hopefully he's going to be – I think he's fighting for a job on this team, to tell you the truth, and that would be a big wasted pick, 15th overall for a guard that didn't work, played one season poorly. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping. We obviously didn't get to see him, adapt to the zone blocking scheme. I'm hoping the zone blocking scheme helps him because it does hide a lot of flaws in the pass game. So I hope that benefits him. But once again, the best ability is availability. Man, this guy has not been available. Mm-hmm. So I hope he gets better, and I hope he gets on the field. Speaking of draft. How do you see the Texans draft going this year? You see us making a big splash like we did last year, or we're just adding depth and needs this year?
Well, he's not afraid to deal, that's for sure, and he's not afraid to move back. I could certainly see if there isn't a clear-cut number 23 overall that he's crazy about, and somebody wants to come up and maybe grab a quarterback before somebody else does. Maybe a Bo Nix is still sitting there, and they want to come up and jump up. I could certainly see. I think wheeling and dealing in this draft because there's some depth. There's some depth at wide receiver. There's a lot of depth at offensive tackle. Although the Texans, I'm not sure, are going to be in that market with what they gave Titus Howard this offseason. I could see Nick moving back. I don't see him moving up. I don't see that this year. Now you said it. We're in a win mode now. And maybe he sees somebody that's in the 15 to 12 to 15 range that he says, I got to have, or D'Amico says, I got to have that guy. Maybe if a Malik Neighbors isn't dropping to there. I could see him going up for an Adunza or somebody like that, maybe a big threat. Boy, would that be something if they got a first-round wide receiver to add to Tank and Nico. Ooh, I think that would be special. But I think they're going to concentrate a heck of a lot more on that defense this offseason than they are offense.
Yeah, the only way I really see them trading up if I don't want to murder his first name, but Newton, the defensive tackle.
Jerzon Newton.
Yeah, if he's there, if he drops like 13, 15. If he
Well,
drops down.
he might be around at 23.
Oh, you really? You see him
Yeah.
falling that? Oh, well, I mean, I see
Yeah.
them going after a guy like that or Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy's a possibility too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a cornerback. Like if you have a chance at Kool-Aid or the Clemson cornerback Wiggins, like if they're there, I think maybe or Cooper. I know that narrative about white people can't play
Yeah.
cornerback, but
Yeah, I don't think they grab him at 23, but
right, but maybe there's a possibility where they just jump maybe ahead of the Jaguars because I see a lot of mock drafts of him going to the Jaguars. Maybe they jump to the 16th, 15th spot to get him. I can see something like that because I think Cooper DeJohn is probably the best corner in this draft. But I think that's the only way if there's that guy say, hey, this guy makes our defense. I think you're right. I think they focus on the defense. Hey, the offense is almost there, but the defense needs to live, and we need defensive tackle, a linebacker. We need another cornerback. Like we need a couple more pieces, and obviously we need depth. So I can see them focusing on that.
Well,
so
and the wide receiver draft is pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might be able to pick up a Roman Wilson in the second round.
Yeah,
you know,
or a Johnny Wilson in the third. You know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of in. I would love to see one more playmaker though. If you add Tank and Nico, I mean, but you can get those guys. Look where you got Tank. Look where you get Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice,
Nico Collins.
Nico. I mean, you get there. You can find. There's so much skill out there now, and those guys are high. Are going to get paid guys.
Mm-hmm.
So. The thought is, we were talking about it this morning, is get those guys in the first round so you've got them for 5 years as opposed to after 4 years you got to pay them.
Yeah.
But you also got to, again, it's so important to get bulk up. They got to. There's one thing. Well, we learned that in the Ravens game. Right. That defensive line just dominated the Texans. Just dominated, and D'Amico was watching that going, that's what I need. And he said it afterwards. He said it the next day. He said it. I fully believe defensive line is going to be a top priority.
So in the draft, if you're circling one guy like that, if I'm D'Amico, if I'm Nick Cassero, this is the guy I'm taking. If I can have any pick of the draft, which guy are you taking for the Houston Texans in this draft?
In this draft, if I could have one guy, it'd be Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison. One guy.
Marvin Harrison is probably going number one overall.
Well, you said said I could pick one guy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying I love him too, man. But
I don't. You watch. There's a lot of people talking Malik Neighbors up now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my radio partner, he says I've been talking to some people and they got Steve Smith has Malik Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison. There's other guys in the league that are putting Malik Neighbors up there. We're LSU people. My wife went there. My daughter went there. So I watched just about every Malik Neighbors game. And that guy's special, man. That guy might be now Marvin Harrison is smoother and got probably a better route runner, but Malik is explosive. Holy cow. He's going to be a good
He's a playmaker. Yeah, he's the guy to like you said, Collins and Dell, right? I mean, be peanut butter jelly adding him to that. I mean,
whoa. They ain't had them, but you said I could have them. So
I would like, if I'm going receiver, I would like Rome from Washington. I think that guy's going to be a heck of a playmaker too. I see him going to Tennessee in a lot of these mock drafts. I'm like, please don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
We got to give them. We got to give them something. They don't have anything over there. Come on, we can't be selfish. Let them have something.
We already gave them the Oilers uniform, so I mean that's enough,
They're bad people, but they got to have something to root for.
Okay, John. Before we move on to the next, so my theory of the draft is a crapshoot, right? Like we just talked about Kenyon Green. I mean, you go back in Texans history, Travis Johnson, Moby Okoye, a lot. Javon Clowney he was a first round pick, but not number one overall. Like the draft is a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. So my theory is, if you can trade a draft pick for a proven guy, and it's the right price, I say do it. So if the Niners take, say, a second round pick for Brandon Ayuk, do you do that?
Oh, yes. Yes, right now. Yes, there's no second rounder that's going to be better than Brandon Ayuk. Yes, period.
Do
Yes.
you do it for a first round? Well, what is your draft compensation for a player like Brandon Ayuk?
Well, first of all, you got to have the money because Brandon Ayuk is going to get paid, right? Brandon Ayuk ain't coming. You got to make sure that you do the deal, unlike the way that Bill O'Brien did the Tunsil thing, traded for him and then was held over a barrel because, after
Right.
you gave up all that draft compensation, how can you got to give him whatever he wants. So you work out the deal. But if there's no, I guess Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison, but at 23, there's nothing on that board that is as good as Brandon Ayuk. There's nothing. So if the 49ers, I don't know that they take the 23rd pick. Maybe they would for Brandon Ayuk. I would want a little bit more compensation. I think that they're going to get more compensation from Brandon Ayuk than just a first rounder, and especially a mid to late first rounder like the Texans have. So that's going to be a tough conversation. But yes, right now, do it. Yes, yes.
So would you follow that theory? Like, if you can get a proven guy, would you trade draft picks for him, or would you take the crapshoot because of, like you said, the rookie deals, the cheaper value?
A couple of things. Do you have the money, and are you in win now mode? Right. The Texans last year wouldn't have never done that for any of those top picks. I need to build a roster here, and I need as many draft picks as possible, and we'll fill in with free agency, which is what they did, and they did it really, really well. The Texans are getting closer to win now mode. They're getting, into a neighborhood where, and they've got money. They've got money available. Now, let's not forget, there's all these projections, 63 million, 59 million, but they've got a lot of guys to sign. There's so many. The Texans have, the list is this long of free agents. So there's a lot of roster spots that they have to fill in. And they got to pay guys like the Cashmans, replacing Steven Nelson. There's a lot of guys that you have to replace if you're not bringing them back. So that money is going to be gone in a hurry, and especially if you pay big name guys. So yeah, but if you don't feel like let's say Jerson Newton is sitting there and you do need defensive line, but you can get a player of an IU caliber, or you can sign guys as free agents too. Let's not forget, there are guys out there as free agents you don't have to give up draft capital for. So, you can do both. I would love to have your answer to your question, Brandon Ayuk. Yes, I'll do it.
Yeah, obviously, right? Like that's also one guy I wouldn't mind having free agency. Before the Super Bowl, I thought Juwan Jennings was going to be like 3.5 million. I was like, oh, that's a cheap option. But after the Super Bowl, I think he's probably going to get 10, 12 million. The dude, do you think he's going to be a little bit cheaper or?
I don't know about that much, but he's a restricted free agent, so they can match anything. So that's the problem with Juwan. I mean, you got to lock up that money. You offer Juwan Jennings that money, and then San Francisco can sit on their hands and wait, and then finally say yes, we're going to take it. And then meanwhile, all that money is locked up, and you can't use it for free agents. So that's a problem. That's a problem in offering a restricted free agent. So. I wouldn't mind Juwan Jennings. No, listen though, there's a lot of talented wide receivers.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of talent out there.
Well,
I don't think you have to trade for one, and I don't think you have to. There's the list of free agents out there. There are guys that can help you right now.
I mean, that's what everybody was complaining and moaning about last year, right? Was Nick Caserio's not making any big splashes. Nick Caserio's not making any big long-term contracts. Well, why would you? When the talent wasn't that great. It was good, but look at the pool. Like you said, the talent this year in the free agency is unbelievable.
No.
I mean, you got game changers on all sides of the ball. So this, like I said, this is the year if you want to make a splash in free agency. And I think the year the Jags went and signed Kirk and all that, I think this is the year the Texans, not as big as contracts like they did, like that Christian Kirk contract was outrageous. But
I don't want that. I don't want that contract.
But I think you make a splash like that. Like I
Yeah.
think you make a signing, not the contract wise, but a signing like that. Like make a splash.
Yeah. I think you can do it with a better player for not that kind of money either.
Oh, absolutely.
But listen, you got guys that in your mind, in my mind, I want to have Cashman back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's going to be even more so maybe than Grenard, because Grenard is going to be a big money guy, and I'm not sure that you can't get a better bargain at that position. What Cashman brought to the table and the money that you're going to have to pay for him, I think is going to be of great value. So you want to do that. I don't know about Steven Nelson. He's apologized for the vest stuff that he was doing with Nick Caserio.
Right.
But I wouldn't mind having Steven Nelson back, especially at the right price. I think Steven Nelson did a fine job. I think you got to get another safety too. And there's some good safeties out there. And because Jimmy Ward just couldn't stay on the field, you got to get a guy that's going to be there. And I don't think, quite frankly, I think Jalen Petrie needs help. He needs somebody. I didn't think Jalen Petrie played well at all this year.
No.
A lot of missed tackles. He's missing a lot of tackles. He's plays so wild sometimes. Every time
out of the gap a lot of times, right? Like he was just out of the box and not in the right spot.
Yeah,
and it got shown,
And you can't. I think Perriman's got to be replaced because it wasn't good in coverage this year. You got a lot of work to do. So, like you said, I'd like to see a big splash. I would like to see a better player than Christian Kirk for that kind of money.
Right.
But I think there's so many different things that you have to do that I think Caserio is a plotter more than he is, a big splash guy. The draft notwithstanding, he made a big splash in the draft. There's no question.
Oh, and like free agency, right? Like, Dalton Schultz, Perriman, Cashman, all these, Steve Nelson, all these guys that he brought in for these 1-2 year deals on a rebuild was fantastic.
Right. But not huge names.
Right.
None of them were huge names. Dalton Schultz was a nice signing. Steven Nelson was a nice signing, even though he held the gun to Caserio's head. Cashman was a great signing, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon Rankins,
Derek Barnett. I think Derek Barnett is probably the most underrated move we did all season.
Right. Well, that was an in-season move that was awesome. And they got to constantly look because they got injuries. They got to constantly be on. They did a great job. Nick Caserio did a great job. And Nick, I trust now. I wasn't sure after Kenyon Green and Derek Stingley, who didn't play, and Kenyon Green was no good, and the free agents that he had been signing before was just like, oh my goodness, this is just, it's the same guy over and over. All these linebackers that they brought in it was just like, oh my goodness, this is just awful. And this season, you're right. He said, no, we're just going to get 1 and 2 year deals. That's it. And until we get our feet under us. And now we'll see whether or not he makes some bigger splashes. We'll see. Yeah.
And guys like, a Cashman or Steven Nelson, where you're borderline. Does Steven Nelson have another year or two in the gas tank? Maybe sign him to another 1 year or 2 year deal. Same thing, Cashman. Like, can you produce this consistently? Like, you have some good years. Can you consistently do it? Maybe,
Well, here's the thing: is you're going to find Steven Nelson's going to find. We'll see what the free agent market is like for Steven Nelson. He might be sitting out there for a while and going, maybe I'm not as worth what,
Exactly.
You hit the free agent market, you find out. You find out what you're worth, and if nobody's offering you that kind of money, then you just might have to come back with your tail between your legs and say, you know what, I'll play for this, and I really love that vest you're wearing today.
That'd be the ultimate troll move. And Nick says, "Look, only way you're getting re-signed is you put this on when we sign the contract."
Right, you got to wear this vest, Steven.
Yeah.
If you're going to sign you.
Well, before we end this, what is your? It'd be any kind of draft, trade, whatever signing. What's your hot take the Texans would do this offseason?
My hot take is there's a lot of smoke around Saquon. It might be Saquon. I think that wouldn't surprise me. That they would go out and make a splash like that because, I think that the running game is going to play a big role. I think a big defense, Matabwike wouldn't be surprising to me. Casario has not made that big name. I don't know that Matabwike is a big name. Saquon's a big name. I don't think a Mike Evans I just don't think so. But that would be those kind of moves. A Saquon, a Josh Jacobs, a Mike Evans. Those would be huge moves, and it wouldn't shock me if the Texans didn't do something like that. We see this team, the Dylan Brooks and the Fred VanVleet. We see Josh Hader move by the Astros. I mean, they're just eye openers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans don't get into that game a little bit.
I mean, it's time to be a great time to be a Houston sports fan, right? I mean,
Yep.
All three teams are, Astros, of course, been there, but the other two are finally turning around. It's a great time to be a fan. It's exciting. Finally going to games and wearing your jerseys out in public without being laughed at. So
I hadn't seen the last three before this year. I hadn't seen a Texans jersey in 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, that's the last couple of years. Like I've only I had a 44 still tipping jersey custom made, and that's the only one I would wear because I was so disappointed. So, but now I'm rocking my Stroud jersey, and it's a time to be a Texan fan. So it's fun. Well, John, this is my wise words of my buddy Crenshaw. This is the worst part of the show because it's the end. Tell everyone where we can find you on social media and what you got cooking, so that way we can support you ever at.
Yeah, I'm at on X at John Granato, Granato, and you can find me every morning on ESPN 97.5, or if you're out west, Katy or the west suburbs on 92.5 FM. So listen in. We have a lot of fun. We talk a lot of Texans, and we're all Houston all the time.
All right. Well, John, you have a wonderful night. Thanks to you again for coming on. Everybody else, until next week, have a wonderful week.
Yo, check it out, we rapping for the Texans.